Hey there. While traveling, you bump into every type of people. And today I'm interviewing Deva.
Hi.
I know that Deva in Hindi means God.
Mm.
So are you a goddess, Deva?
Yes. But in my defense, we all are, so yeah.
As for me, I've never came across tarot cards.
Yeah.
So could you please give a crash course?
Sure. Okay. Crash course. So back in the day, from what I know, like this is my own little thing I keep my cards in. I have the traditional Rider-Waite deck. These were made, I think, in like the 1820s or so. What they would say with gypsies, because I know that's like a slang term. Would use them to do different types of divination. And divination in and of itself is extremely ancient art that's been around in cultures all over the world, have used their own. I personally got into using the tarot in particular actually about a year and a half ago, going on 2 years now, so I'm, new. But I ended up having, the gift of divination, and this, as an artist and someone who is, very visual, I see pictures and I'm able to intuitively connect and decipher the different messages. Basically, it's a mystical art
And mystical art.
Yeah.
To be frank, I'm a bit scared.
Why?
I'm not a religious guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Catholic, a Roman Catholic, and is it not forbidden for us to know the future?
See, that's where a lot of people get confused with tarot or mystic arts in general. They don't really tell you the future. Even for me, that's like a little too esoteric for me, and I'm obviously a tarot reader. But fortune telling, so to speak, is really you have a certain like pattern of behavior, and if you keep on with that certain pattern, you're gonna have a certain outcome. It's like math, so it's not really as magical as it's kind of just, hey, if you have, using one of the cards I already have up, if you have like a balancing issue, like this would be the Two of Pentacles, right? This one card can represent many different things, but this is like, if you have an issue with balancing something, or you see how he's on one foot, you see in the background he has the different waves, you see how he looks like, oh, is it gonna slip, is this not? It could also represent financial woes, financial changes, but it could also, if it's like a reading about love or a relationship, it can talk about you're trying to balance that, or you're trying to have work-life balance issues and things of that nature, trying to get your bearings on straight. So it's way more psychologically deep in practice than religious. Even though in the history of the tarot, many of these, this deck in particular I use, was based off of essentially a Protestant Catholic background. So like it has a lot of, I guess, Christian themes in the tarot. So for example, they have like the Death card, which is a fact of life, but it also has the Devil card. And a lot of people who are religious will be like, oh my God, the Devil card. But in the tarot, the Devil card represents people enslaved to their own desires, not having self-control. Right. You see what I mean? And that really doesn't have anything to do with, a higher power or God per se, but a lack of control within yourself.
Sinners.
Essentially.
Yeah, right. Well, I believe that this card about balance, in particular imbalance, is about all of us, because that's what we strive to achieve. Yeah. Because when we give too much time and effort, for example, to our work, whether we work 9 to 5 or especially if we are entrepreneurs. Yeah. So we may forget about anything else, like for example, our personal life, our exercise and all our spiritual things. Yeah. But what does this word spiritual mean for you?
For me, it's just an absence of formalized religion. Like if you think of religions, like I personally have a love for all religions. I think they're beautiful expressions of other people's interpretations of God, or the God experience, I personally call it. But when you're on your own journey, you have to formulate your own experience with God, or your own experience with the divine or source, or whatever you want to call it, or even your higher self, right? So you have to have your own personal thing with that. No one can come between that. No one can tell you, hey, you should follow this or believe that, or, you know, you don't follow like a pastor or a priest or, you know, a deacon or anything like that. You follow that connection with source itself directly. And essentially, you know, even in the Bible, for example, like that's what Jesus essentially was for. Like, you don't have to go through anything else. You go directly through him, through me, essentially. So it's the same concept of you have a direct connect with source energy, or with God or divine or the universe, whatever. It's all the same thing. It's just different words, you know?
Oh yeah. I can see that. Well, however, some churches or some particular religions may dislike this practice.
Absolutely.
because they used to be the mediators. For example, the Pope in Rome is known to represent God on earth for Christians. I mean, for Roman Catholics. And now Deva is coming with tarot cards, saying that, you know what, actually religion is not necessary. It should be secondary, because it's your personal connection with God.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it's all about, you know, having that your own connection, but as well you have to realize not that any religion was ever started with ill intent. I don't think. What ended up happening is, you know, our world now is a capitalistic society, and because of that, money plays a massive role in everything done. So whether it be religion, whether it be the pharmaceutical industry, whether it be the meat industry, whether it be, you know, even environmentalism, all of those things that started with good heart intent, now their main focus is money. Their main focus is essentially these pinnacles. Like, they only care about the money. They lost the soul of why they started the work in the first place. And so instead of truly gaining people to come to Christ because of love, or gaining people to get medicine because they need healing, it's, let's see how many symptoms we can change without actually healing them, so we keep getting money. Or let's make sure we still have people donating to the church so we can keep building up beautiful buildings instead of actually taking homeless people off the street. So it turns around from, you know, all those billions and billions of dollars, especially in religion. Most of that money is tax-free money. So these are multi-billion-dollar industries that don't even pay taxes.
Exactly.
And there's people out there still suffering and could use help. And nowadays, the only way people can get access to that help is through, if life essentially gets so hard down on them where they're like, I'm questioning everything I've ever taught in my whole life. I don't care. I need results. Most of the time, those people end up in mysticism, because it gives you an answer immediately, without question, without intervening. You know, I always encourage people, like, yeah, you can come pay me for a reading, but you can teach yourself how to read for yourself. You know, and a lot of people don't want you to do that because there's money being made off of your ignorance. And that's the biggest thing in this world, is if you're ignorant or don't know something, it's easier to swindle you.
I think it's such a universal principle that Deva has just mentioned, that money is made out of ignorance. It can be translated in any type of business or any type of service. When you don't know something, you address a special professional who you trust, and he or she gives you all this information and instructs you what you should do.
Absolutely, because most of us were taught from a very, very young age, you know, we're taught you have to look up to your parents, you have to look up to your pastor, you have to look up to your teacher, you have to look up to this. And that was, you know, good, essentially, you know, to teach you humility. But what has happened is, because of the financial restraint and issues so many people have experienced, the stress of money or lack of money has turned a lot of those people into abuse. So then, instead of your parents loving you, they're abusing you. Instead of your teachers loving you and really wanting to teach you, they hate you and want to make it harder for you. Instead of your boss actually appreciating the work you put in, they beat down on you because they're stressed out. So it's a chain reaction of all of these overworking and with restraints, and then they place that on the children, and then we grow up like, oh, something's wrong with me, oh, let me not speak up, oh, you know, I have to follow someone else because I don't really know, I can't trust my own judgment. And a lot of people don't understand. I was just making a post about, like, when we're born in this world and we're babies, like, whether we have a disability or not, we're always considered perfect. You see what I mean? Perfect as soon as we're born. What changed from now and then? Nothing. You're still you inside. You're still that baby inside. You're still that flawless, perfect baby that's breathing in life. And only the society will make you internalize all the hatred and inner frustrations that other people are having, whether it be your parents or a teacher or a friend or even a pastor, you know, that didn't handle their own issues well enough, and they took it out on someone who was completely innocent. And then you have people who, they'll realize that, and then they'll just go through a spiral of like depression and desolation, because they're like, dang, I can't trust anyone in this world. And some people are like, hey, you know, that's true, but there are people in this world who you can trust. You just have to find them. So it really teaches you that balance of, like, there's good and evil in this world, but you just have to have your eyes awakened to it. And, you know, sometimes it's a time to follow after people, and there's a time to put your foot down and know you only need to follow yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. When I speak about students and the choices they are making, I believe there are two extremes. One is the dream they aspire to do. For example, they want to become like stars of Hollywood.
It's possible, but you know, you gotta evaluate why. You know? You gotta evaluate why. I know actually quite a few people who have saying they want to be famous, they want to just be a star in Hollywood, and it's like, cool, you can do that, you know, move to Hollywood, be a star, but like, doing what? You know, and a lot of people, when the push comes to shove, what they think is their dream is not really what they want. Like, many times, many people I know who want to be famous, they really just want attention. They don't actually want fame, because fame comes with invasion of privacy. Fame comes with everyone in your business and misinterpreting everything that you say. Fame comes with being constantly monitored. Many people, especially private people, you know, they don't want everybody in their business. They want to be on camera and go home and be private. If you're famous, you don't get that. Like, you're on camera even at home. So it's like you have to really find out what you really want. And if you want attention, you know, then do something attention grabbing and keep it moving. You know, like, absolutely, have your own product or have your own business. Like, there's millions of businesses out here, and there's enough wealth and abundance for all of them. You know, like, no one's lacking. And the only people who aren't successful in business, they have to just learn the lessons to become successful. Like, I don't believe there's any L's in life. I don't believe there's anything as failure. I think everything's a learning lesson. So it's learning, you're either winning or you're learning how to win. And that's it.
That's what I call positive attitude.
Yeah, you have to. If the world's so negative, why focus on it? Because it's always going to be, literally, like this card, it's always going to be imbalance. It's just as much good as there's bad. So if you're seeing or exposed to a whole lot of negativity, you need to take a step back and realize there's way more good going on that you're not even being aware of.
Whoa. Well, that's very serious.
Yeah.
Even asking you for this interview, I never expected that this is going to become as serious.
Oh, sorry. But it's like, you know, it's life. We're all the same, you know.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
So basically, most people want to have their tarot cards read for some financial reasons or reasons of their insecurity, because they're not sure of which choices they should make and which paths they should take.
Yeah. So with that is, a lot of times when people, or most of the time people come for a tarot reading, it's either for entertainment or they're going through a crisis and they need an immediate answer, immediate result, because everything they've been doing the regular route has not been working. And the thing is, you know, also, like, it's really great to see a tarot reader, because as someone like me, for example, empath or an intuitive, we energetically connect with someone or anyone, everyone. And since, you know, time doesn't exist, you know, on a scientific level, from like Albert Einstein and Tesla talking about that, spirit essentially, or energy or vibes or whatever, isn't time restraint. Like, it doesn't go by time. Like, you know, I can do a reading right now, record it, and post it a month later, and it'll still be accurate for someone. Like, it won't matter, because the right person that needs to see that video or get that message, they're going to get it no matter what's going on, you know, the time I actually, like, make it available. And so it's the same concept. So most people come when they need guidance. And essentially my job as an intuitive is to connect with the person's energy and to let them know that what they're seeking is already within them. Like, it's, at the end of the day, anything you're seeking or looking for is already inside of you. And the problem is usually we're too distracted by outer things to like quiet our mind, or essentially meditate, because I meditate all the time, but quiet our mind enough to meditate to get to that inner truth, because we have so many doubts or fears or whatever else. And so essentially a mystic, or even a mystical priest is able to see and feel intuitively what's going on with you, and is able to tell you. I just use cards to do it. And cards for me are easier for me to tell, but many times, when I do spiritual coaching, for example, I don't even need my cards. We can just talk, and I'm able, just from my own experiences and things that I've been through and my own initiations, I'm able to see what that person's like missing out on, or what they need to have that fulfilling life that they want. Because many times you're right on the cusp of that breakthrough, right when you feel like you're about to give up. Like, almost every time. Like, you're right there, like right when you want to give up, and you're like, forget the dream, I can't do it. It's like, don't speak death on it. You never know what could happen. You got to have hope, and that little tiny hope, that little tiny little mustard seed of hope can change your whole life.
Yeah, as I was saying, there are two extremes. One is the dream you want to follow, or maybe the dream you bought online.
Yeah.
Very often our dreams are being sold. For example, with TV commercials or Hollywood movies. For example, everybody knows Malibu. Because so many movies were shot there, and here now we are in South LA, and Malibu is one hour.
Yeah, it's like far, but people just think, oh, California beach, Malibu. It's like that's like an hour away.
Yeah, so they may be bought into these dreams, and on the opposite, so they may have these frustrations or these fears that what's going to happen if I don't achieve it. Like, I want to be a bit secure. Like, for example, if I fail and I'm not going to become Angelina Jolie, for example, because there's only one Angelina Jolie.
Exactly, you got to be the best you.
Yeah, and this is why they struggle to keep its balance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it happens a lot because, honestly, because like you said, fear. And I know for me in my own journey, I spent all of last year in all kind of craziness only because I had fear. Because the thing is, you can, if you don't believe me, don't. Because Buddhism, question everything always, right? So have you ever been through something and you're scared, or you're not sure, you're just essentially freaking out, and you make a move and that move make more problems for you, right? Everyone's had experiences like that. That's because you're never supposed to actually make any move out of fear, because you don't have sound judgment when you're scared. When you're scared, essentially your body thinks you're in a life or death situation. And the thing is, nowadays in this world, we're so riddled by so many anxieties and things pushed upon us. I love my phone, but technology, it helps and hurts if you don't have balance, because if you're always in it, you'll start developing social anxiety. You'll start developing general anxiety. Then, you're wasting most of your time on Facebook, or you're wasting most of your time, going to parties, and then you're like, oh, well, I actually have to pay bills. Okay, and now you're stressed. And it's like, oh, my life's shitty. And it's like, no, it's not shitty. You just have horrible, spending habits. Fix it. The end. Problem solved. But a lot of times we just start beating up on ourselves. And it's not that deep. Essentially, it's like, hey, you just got one bad habit. Calm down. You're a good person still. You're still nice. You're still kind. Life's still working out for you.
Sure.
But you just have to really have that belief and faith in yourself to really know what's for you and what's not. If you are in fear, if you're scared of something, you have to get to a place where, one, you calm down, and two, you relax and breathe and just get centered within yourself. I personally am a big advocate for not manifestation. I mean, I'm down for manifestation, but meditating. Meditating is so crucial to our entire world, our society, our mental health, our physical health. If you can just take a moment, meditate, and take a step back, no matter what is going on, you'll be able to make a sound decision. You'll be able to step back energetically out of the fear space, the fear body, and just be like, hey, this is happening to you. Your spirit, you're, you know, the soul within your body. You're not your physical body. Nothing's actually happening to you. You know, that core self of who you are, that heart that makes you you, is your soul. You know, like when we die, essentially, and our souls leave our bodies, that corpse is you on the outside, but if someone tries to go talk to it, is it you? No.
Yeah, so instead of becoming a drama queen or acting like one, just have a bit of a time for yourself.
Yes.
Go to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. It's so therapeutic, and everyone knows it without knowing it. That everyone knows, if you're ever stressed, whatever, if you don't meditate, going to the ocean, going camping, going, you know, just out in nature, isn't it always soothing every single time? That's where we belong, you know?
How do you know we belong to the ocean?
Well, we okay. No. I'm a mom, right?
Okay.
And when you develop a baby, the baby's in salt water. We essentially are descendants of people of the ocean, or of many oceans inside of a woman. You know, every person alive came out of a uterus.
Oh yeah, from this perspective, yeah.
So maybe not the ocean like the sea, but we came from our own ocean within, you know?
Yeah, like this type of power that is unstoppable, and at the same time it's positive, because it helps you recharge with all this energy.
Yeah.
Do you do meditation on a daily basis?
Daily, you have to meditate every day. I know a lot of people don't like it. They're like, oh, I'm not doing anything. Prayer is when you're speaking to God. Meditation is when you listen for the answer. So if you don't meditate, you're doing all the praying, you're wondering you're not hearing anything, and then that's why you got to come see me. That's because you're not sitting and meditating to get an answer. Essentially, yeah.
Why mostly women meditate?
I wouldn't say that. I would think men do too, but I feel like as a woman, you know, I can only speak for women, and I know for me, myself, as an emotional being or a bearer of emotions, like society is very supportive in women having emotions, whereas men have just as many emotions as a woman does, but society beats them up for it. You know, that's not natural. I'm human, he's human, we got emotions. We get to be emotional, but I'm allowed to be emotional in society. He's gonna be like, hey, you need to suck it up, you can't be emotional. That's not normal, and we wonder why our men are suffering. And then because they're suffering and hurt, I always say, hurt people hurt people. So if our men are hurting, what do? They turn around and they hurt the woman. You know? And so you got to work on that inner healing. You know, it's really imperative. And so meditation helps you do that. Like, it helps so much. And, you know, you can talk about, you know, yoga the same. If you're like very hyperactive, you know, doing yoga is meditation for the body. So you're still moving, but you have to be so focused on the movements you're making. It's also a form of meditation. Dance can even be a form of meditation. Any physical extracurricular activity you can do without actually doing, or something you can do mindlessly, can be a form of meditation. Even coloring, you know, in a coloring book can be a form of meditation. So it's really just taking that time out to practice self-care and self-love.
Washing really the dishes, maybe a type of meditation.
Absolutely. Cleaning the house. Like, if you ever had, like, I know for me, my mom, she'll get stressed and just start cleaning. And I'll just be like, you know, what's wrong with you? But now that I'm older, it's therapeutic, because you're like, wow, I let out all that frustration physically through cleaning. And then I look around and I have a result of a clean house.
As for me, I can also share this meditation practice. For me, it was definitely extreme sports.
Oh, yeah.
For example, when I do snowboarding, thank you, Eleonora, my snowboarding trainer. Or awesome. When I started doing trampoline jumping to improve my like, snowboarding skills. So it was something like I was like filled with dopamine energy. And I was like, wow,
that's amazing. Cool. That's insane. I love that. I want to learn how to surf.
Okay.
I haven't learned yet. I'm not scared of the ocean. I just have like a deep respect for it, because it's like, it's so beautiful and calming, yet at the same time it can definitely kill me. So so I'm definitely like nervous, but I'm way more excited about learning how to do it than I'm nervous. Like, I've always loved the water and the ocean since I was like a kid, like very in tune with the ocean energy. And so I'm just like, oh no, I have to learn how to do this. Like, I feel like that'll be my extreme sport. I've always wanted to snowboard and ski though. Like, I've never done it, but that seems really fun. Like, dangerous, but fun.
But fun.
Yeah.
Sure. The other technique I want to share is ice skating.
Ooh.
Because I just started maybe half a year back.
Oh wow.
So thank you, Slava, my ice skating trainer.
That's awesome. That's dope. I played sports, but I would say definitely with the form of like meditation or finding like a physical outlet that is like your version of meditating. For me, it's dance actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fairly new hobby for me because I never knew it was something I'd be like in alignment with. But it's one thing I can do, and it's almost like I just get like possessed when I dance. Like nothing in the world matters, nothing is stressing me out, nothing is bothering me. All I know is I feel amazing, and like me and God are one. It's literally like, I guess in Buddhism when they talk about like nirvana, that for dance is that for me, because you really tune into just like your primal, you know, inner soul, and it brings it out in an expression, and then it's this powerful, you know, because music is extremely powerful. Like what person in the world doesn't like music? You know, like we all are connected to music. We're all connected to sound. We're all connected to movement, you know, because, you know, back in the day we used to just have tribes and have fires and dance around the fire. Like, do we do that no more? No, we just go to clubs.
Yeah, somebody watches television.
Right, so then they're not moving at all, and it's like that's why we're so disconnected. We're physically not even interacting with each other anymore.
Yeah, today we watch YouTube, so there's music there. We leave comments. Oh, by the way, don't forget to comment if you have some questions or you feel something about our video.
Likewise, follow me on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. But did you know, by the way, like, speaking of music, there is a salsa festival right now.
Really?
Yeah, you have to go to Pershing Square.
Yeah.
It's a 2-day salsa festival.
Oh, wow.
I found it online, and I wanted to go there, but because of the heat, it produced this kind of issue. You're like, oh no.
It's like, people think it's a joke when we say it's hot in California, and it's like, oh, it's not like hot. It's like 113 degrees, 120 degrees, 105 degrees. That's you can't go outside. Your shoes will start melting.
Sure. That's like Fahrenheit, by the way.
Fahrenheit, not Celsius. Like, it's real.
Sure.
It is so real, definitely.
From what I can see, rose is your favorite color.
What, rose? Yeah. I would say I do love it. I love all colors, especially colors that are more like floral, like any sort of floral colors I'm really into. But actually my favorite color is orange. I'm so weird. Like, who likes orange? But yeah, I have different color schemes, but I do love this. Is anything flower-like, I'm gonna love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also this type of like violet is for lavender. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somehow I remember, for example, in India that we have these sticks which we burn, and
like incense.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh,
right. So they have this spiritual meaning. So very often when I give my physical lessons, I mean, not online, but like one-on-one, like sitting in one room. So I would do it, and I would burn this incense sticks, and it would give me a special, like, spiritual feeling that I'm doing like a good job. Mm-hmm. Whatever I'm doing is sacred. Yeah. It's intended to help someone grow, like improve, etc. Yeah. Do you have this feeling when you sit with your client? I don't know. Do you work with clients?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Right. Is it groups or only individuals?
I can do both, actually.
Oh.
When I do individuals, like if I do an individual reading, that's way more personalized and it's solely on them and whatever they have going on and what they want to find out. When I do a group, I have to be particular that all the cards that'll come out will be for everyone in the group, but many times the message and the way that I deliver that message is for like one particular person, but I won't know which one. So like how I try to describe this to people who, you know, may not know or may not be that spiritually aware. I just connect with energy. It's the same for like how like they would say like shamans will connect with spirits. It's just energy. Like to me, spirit is like a weird, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, what? Like it's just weird. Like it's just a weird word, but it's all the same. Energy is the same. atoms are the same. You know, like the energy in and of itself is the same, and we just personify it. So people who, like, for example, do ancestor veneration, which is extremely important. That's in every culture in the world. You know, they have something where they honor their ancestors. They show them respect. They don't worship their ancestors. They just honor them, because essentially you wouldn't be alive if they didn't give birth to you. You know, and so here in America, most people don't do that. Most people don't honor their ancestors. And then, of course, on this land here in America is native land. Many of us do have native blood, or even if we don't, if we're born on this land of, you know, native-blooded people, you know, who have, their whole culture was about honoring their ancestors and the great spirits and stuff. And then we're not doing that. Like, that's not going to be, like, positively looked upon, you know, things like that. But when I do a reading, essentially, I know a lot of people have experiences where, like, they, you know, feel like they have a guardian angel or a relative looking after them, or God looking after them, whatever. I connect with that, whatever that is for you. And that, whatever it is, whether it be like a person or just the energy wave or a group of people looking after you, or a group of angels looking after you, they essentially just tell me all your business. And they don't even tell me directly, honestly. They just tell my ancestors, they tell my guides, you know, and my source, and then they translate it for the cards. And then a lot of times as well, like, a lot of people say, like in, I guess, spiritual theory, so to speak, that spirits walk among us like regular people. We just can't see them. So essentially, it's kind of like the holographic universe theory or the multi-dimensional theory. Like, they're just in another dimension, essentially. So they're still here, but they're in another dimension. But so we're not, aware of them on this plane. So a lot of times, if they're, around a mystic or a person who can see them, because, like, for me, I would consider myself a very light intuitive, where I just feel energy. I feel like heat on different parts of my chakras, so I'll know what the topic will be about, like stuff like that. Whereas some people can actually hear things. Some people can actually see, like, really see, other things. I'm not that cool. Like, I'm like, I just energetically work with people. But, I connect with that person's spirit or whatever, and their guides tell my guides what's going on, and my guides tell me what to say.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how I'm able to do my readings in the most simplest form.
With this growth of technology, and like now we have our mobile phones.
Yeah.
You got 2, I think.
Yeah.
I also got 2.
Are you a real entrepreneur if you don't have 2 phones?
Yeah, but it's better because maybe a couple of years back I used to have 3 and the camera.
I used to have 3 too.
All right. Yeah. So Deva is a super entrepreneur.
I'm trying.
Yeah. So with this growth of technology, are people becoming more or less spiritually aware?
I think it's both. What happens is when people start to awaken spiritually, which is kind of like something that is going to happen, where, in this world, for example, 9 times out of 10, you're born, you're indoctrinated into your parents' religion, whatever it might be. 9 times out of 10, that religion also doesn't like any form of divination, because if you know yourself, they can't sell you stuff, right? Then, essentially, then you go through the world, you have your own indoctrinations, your own, belief systems that essentially you didn't come up with on your own, but they were implanted in you before you even had a choice, right? And then you're going through the world experiencing these different things, and every generation or every day, essentially, the world's constantly changing. So generationally, things are drastically different from what they were when you were a kid, but you're still carrying those beliefs that you had as a kid. And I know for me in my own journey, I grew up Christian. I come from a long line of Christians up until like my native heritage, my African heritage, which are all spiritual people, shamans, things of that nature. But I had to go out and refine my roots and where my people come from, which I highly encourage everyone to do. But to do that, but at the same time, it doesn't stop the religious practices. Like, for example, my grandparents, he had his own church, things like that. So I still, honor his path. You know what I'm saying? But I also have to honor my own and my own calling, my own talent, because it's not just about me. Right. It's about the world, essentially. And a lot of people are becoming more spiritual because they're realizing those old spiritual institutions or religious institutions they had, they don't translate into what's going on in the world now. And there's no logical explanation for it. And if you kind of stay stuck in that mindset, you limit yourself severely to the magic and manifestation out there. Literally, that you can just sit in meditation and speak something into existence. Why would they teach you that when you can be scared, live in fear, buy all their stuff that they can sell you because you're scared and you think that's your only option, versus empowering yourself and speaking life over your life? You know what I mean? And then on the other hand, you have people who they're not spiritual at all because they've seen how those religions and things don't work. And instead of exploring out there, they're like, oh, it's all crap. I don't want anything to do with any of it. And then they completely disconnect themselves completely from source. Well, not quite, because I feel like as long as you have that connection with yourself, like even on like, you know, a quantum physics level, you know, it's a microcosm, macrocosm. Like you as a human, whatever you are, like you're part of the collective of a few billion other people on the planet, right? But you're still your one individual self. And if you study that one self, you know, you'll know essentially the grand scheme, or you'll know the planets, or you'll know your astrology, or you know your own effect on the universe. And then you'll know how to play your role as this avatar in this human body here on Earth. And then you won't really take things as seriously, so to speak, or you will, but you'll be lighthearted with it because you kind of know it's all a Matrix game. It's not really like a life or death situation. Like death isn't even, like even death is debatable. Like energy can't be destroyed or created. It can just change form. You know, even when babies are made in their mom, it comes from the energy of their dad that made a baby in their mother. It came out of the mom. Like it's a constant dance of energy. Like souls can't be destroyed. You know what I mean? Like it's a constant flow. So if you get like that deep into it, is death even real? You know what I mean? Like that's just you know, you don't use the body anymore. You're in something else. Like, okay, like in what? Like, did somebody want to reincarnate into this, or like my lighter, or like my computer? Like the possibilities in this world are endless. It's only about our mind and like our own limitations that we put on it. So I highly encourage people to, you know, explore, whether it be religion or whatever else, and just have an open mind to things. Like maybe, you know, mysticism is not for everyone, but definitely, you know, in my own life, it helped me so much. I tell anyone, astrology saved my life. You know, I was going through...
Okay, tell us more.
I was going through a really bad depression. You know, I was dealing with bad thoughts, all that stuff. I just thought my life was completely purposeless and worthless. And I felt abandoned by God. You know, at this time, you know, I was a very devout Christian. I went to private school. Like, I was, you know, the goody two-shoes standard. Like, I loved God. I loved Jesus. I loved my religion. But it was not working. And it was half working, half not. So it will be like, I would pray for like, you know, a boyfriend. I'll get the boyfriend. I'll pray to pass my test. I'll pass the test. I'll pray not to be abused by my parents, and crickets. And I was just like, something isn't right here, because that makes no sense, because I'm living by God's word. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm helping others. I'm having a truly genuine, pure heart when I'm doing things. And, you know, the Bible tells you if you do what you're supposed to do, God's like, whatever you want, you can have. And I'm like, well, I'm asking for like literal salvation here, and I'm not getting it. And, you know, me and Jesus had to break up, you know, and it was like a really emotional thing for me at the time. Like, I remember I was literally sobbing, crying, because, you know, you're taught, you know, if you ever leave the church or God, you're like, you're gonna go to hell. If you don't believe in Jesus, you're gonna go to hell. Like, that's traumatizing. Yeah. And so, but when you're living that life and you're seeing this literally is not working for me, like, it's not working, you either change your beliefs, or your beliefs are going to change you. And 9 times out of 10, if you hold on to beliefs that aren't serving you, it's going to destroy you. And then that's why you have people who are Christians and are devout, and they're probably some of the most sinister people you'll ever come across, because they refuse to believe in anything else. I'd rather keep my sanity and still be a good-hearted person with good intention, and like not be a Christian and be Gucci. So, you know, one day, 10 years ago, me and Jesus, you know, we had to have a conversation, and, you know, we kind of broke up. And I was like, you know, God, I still believe in God, but I just feel very conflicted with the Jesus thing. So I'm just going to, you know, bow out, and I hope God supports me on this decision. And if I'm wrong, lead me back to the truth. But until then, just please protect me and guide me on this journey for truth. And I went on that journey, and I've never looked back since. And Yeah, it's been great. Like spiritually, it's been probably the most amazing things I could say I've ever done. But ironically enough, it's led me back in and out of the church, just in different ways. Because now everything is mystical. Everything isn't just, you know, in the beginning was the Word and the Word was with God. Now it's like, I know what that means. I know, you know, in Greek and in Aramaic, when Jesus was written into the Bible, his name wasn't Jesus, it was Logos, which means word, which means speech, which means Jesus actually represents you just speaking things into existence. And so then me and my conflicting emotions about Jesus completely changed, because now I don't personify him. I know Jesus represents literally, you have the power of life and death in your tongue. Your literal actual tongue in your mouth has power. Speak. And what do we talk about? We just talk crap all day, most of us. And then thus the world is in chaos because our tongues are in chaos.
Well, that's a very American religion, I believe.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, of course, because we are in America. Yeah, and in, for example, I'm from Eastern Europe.
Okay, wow.
And thank you. As if it like means so much.
No, it's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in my culture, well, it's not my culture. It's the culture of the last 100 years of insecurities, of world wars, of the Cold War, of dictatorships, of oppressions and destitutions and all types of stuff. Yeah. I'm not trying to, I don't know.
Sounds
like,
pretty religion to me.
Yeah, but we are not so outspoken. So you're not, like for example, if you go to Minsk, Belarus, or even to Warsaw, Poland, you're not going to see people like which smile at you when they go down the street. So like they, and if you smile, they will like, what do you want? Like,
it's like I just want you to have a good day.
Yeah, like do I have like bad makeup or what? Like, why are you looking at me? Why are you smiling?
Oh man,
right. And for example, in my kind of culture, so it's expected that men cannot smile. And like this is, I don't know, I think it's terrible.
Yeah, because you're a person, you're supposed to smile.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you're happy and then.
Yeah, they think I'm like I'm either drunk, or gay. Yeah, like I'm just
I
like
get that vibe.
Yeah, but if I'm neither, so like neither like I'm drunk, I'm just smiling because I'm happy, or because I'm like just recording a funny anecdote and stuff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
A small like culture sharing thing.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. That's how you learn and evolve and grow. And in regards to that too, like if you know your like roots, you know your ancestry, like I highly recommend everyone always practice some form of ancestor veneration. You know, honor your ancestors and your bloodline, where you come from, because no matter where and who you come from, what continent you're born on or come from, like, you know, there's a story behind it, and behind that story will explain so many things in your life that you don't even know. Like a lot of things people will consider like a generational curse. It's really just like generational behavior that no longer is serving the current reality. You know, like it's, some things are not as spiritual as they are like they appear. But that's really awesome, and it's very unique way of seeing the world and interacting with the world, the places like you've been and never been to before. I've never been to Europe. I have my passport, but I haven't been to Europe yet, so one day soon. But yeah, I want to travel the world, meet more people, because at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, we all are going through the same things. We're all suffering in some way. Like I follow a lot of Zen Buddhist principles. And, you know, if you're alive, you're suffering in some way. So I try to just be compassionate with people as much as possible, and, you know, be patient with myself when I'm not being patient with others. And just really go from there. You know, you want to have a compassionate heart, and you want to be open-minded, and essentially, if you have a problem in your life, you want to just solve it and move forward. So that's what I'm here for.
All right. I've some understanding of how Christianity works.
Yeah.
I have like acquired some sense of how Hinduism might work.
Oh, I love
Hinduism. Although it's so elaborate.
Yeah, I love it. You see my little Ganesh here?
Ganesha, can you Can you please
Oh,
show
yeah.
it?
Can you guys see him?
Jai Ganesha.
Yeah.
Right. And also I have some idea, although it's a very like faint idea of how Islam works. Yeah, I mean how like what are the postulates and etc. But you've been repeatedly naming Buddhism. So that's probably what I know nothing or next to nothing about.
Okay, so Buddhism, you know, is considered a religion. I personally see it more as a philosophy. It's a way of life. There's different types of Buddhism. For example, if you take Christianity, there's different types of Christians. You know, you could be Catholic, you could be Protestant, you could be this and the other. You can be Jehovah's Witness. So same thing, but like all religions are like that, basically.
All right.
So like how even in Hinduism, there's certain types of Hindus. There's certain types of devotees. And same for Islam. You know, my dad actually was Muslim, and I grew up, you know, going to the mosque, you know, making salat, like that was part of my life. And then on the other days when I wasn't with him and I was with my mom, I was in church.
That's super multicultural.
Yeah, so like me being around both those environments, even from a very young age, I would just be like, so y'all don't like each other when y'all are essentially worshiping the same, okay. Like, I'm like, y'all are worshiping the same God. Y'all just call them different names, but okay. You know, and people never got my open-mindedness towards it, but it's all finding that, like, inner meaning. Me personally, I found so much resonance with Buddhism, with Zen Buddhism, because it just sums up life and it keeps it real simple. The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, hopefully I don't butcher this. Truth one, life is suffering. If you're alive, you're going to be through some sort of pain. You're going to be having some sort of suffering, whether it be a body issue, a mental issue, a physical issue. Like Buddhism essentially talks about you're alive, you're going to be in some sort of pain, the end. Now, at first, that might seem very depressing or debilitating.
It does.
But that's where the thing is with truth, you know, sometimes truth hurts. But when you have that truth, then you can have a remedy. And so the remedy to the suffering of life, you know, is first you have the suffering, then you have the chronic desire, the want for something that's always going to cause you suffering. For example, you're born, you're a baby, you're crying because you're hungry. You're desiring food. You get food, wait, I want more food, because it goes in and it goes out. And then that's our life, because when you're alive, you get birthed, you go through stuff, you die, and then you start back over, essentially. But that's a real depressing way of looking at it. It's a way better than that, right? So what you do is, essentially, is when you start going from the Four Noble Truths of life is suffering, having desire being the cause of your suffering, and then the fourth truth is that there is a remedy for suffering. And the remedy for suffering is the eightfold path, which is my absolute favorite. Like I said before, it's more of a philosophy, and I absolutely encourage everyone on the planet to incorporate the eightfold path into their life, and it'll completely transform your life. I try to remember them all off the top of my head. It's been a while. I'm more so like a practitioner of just, you know, my own sacred practice. More for like African traditional spiritual religions, things of that nature. You know, most of the people that I know are Christians, or they're root workers, or, you know, they're Santos, or they are Lukimi, what else? Santeria priests, Brujas, things like that. So like I have a wide array of different people that I know that are all different types of spiritual paths, and the mystical arts, you know, occultism, all that stuff. So like my networks energetically are vast, right? But the eightfold path will literally transform your whole experience on this planet, because then you no longer internalize things. For example, you know, it teaches you about compassion. It's like, you know, right thinking, right concentration, aka mastering your mind. 90% of us are highly emotional, and then we don't even control those emotions, and then next thing you know, we have anxiety, and then the next thing you know, we're projecting that anxiety on other people, and then yelling and lashing out on that when essentially they literally didn't do anything. That's insanity. That's literal delusion. Right. You know? But if you have that mind to take a step back and be like, okay, this person just did this. Why would they do that? You know what? Obviously something going on in their life that I don't know about. And that's 90% of the human experience. Someone has something else going on because they're alive, so they're suffering. And essentially they're taking it out on you. Is it right? No. But that's what they're doing because they're emotional and they don't control their emotions. So what's your responsibility? Control your emotions. Control your reactions to other people's emotions, because you realize that their issue really, really has nothing to do with you. So why be upset about it? Why let a 5-minute experience ruin your 25-hour day or 24-hour day?
It's so true.
You know?
Yeah.
Because they're going through something, they're likely not sharing it, and then they're an asshole. Why be mad at assholes? Hurt people. So if they weren't hurt, you know, they'd be happier. And like my job as a spirit worker is to try to get people to, you know, if they have that self-satisfaction within themselves, if they have that self-love or self-confidence for themselves, and they're mastering their own mind, they're mastering, you know, compassion with other people, and more so mastering compassion within themselves. When someone comes at them the wrong way or disrespects them or is mean to them or hurts their child or whatever, they're going to take a step back from just reacting and be like, I don't know what happened in your life, but I'm not going to carry that energy through mine. So this ends with me. Bye. And that's kind of like that Jesus level of compassion that they talk about in the Bible that, you know, many people who are Christians don't practice. But, but you know, it's that same concept of like turning the other cheek. Now, it doesn't mean you accept abuse from people, which a lot of those doctrines have encouraged people to become so submissive to their own detriment. Exactly. But that's the beauty of Buddhism, is that it talks about you have to have not just compassion for others, but for yourself. So you don't allow yourself to be in toxic situations, whether that be family, whether that be a lover. You have to be able to step back, and after a while, if they're chronically throwing their stuff at you, that's when you have to self-reflect on why you think you deserve that behavior. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's like this wave of like establishing, especially women establishing their like borders.
Yeah.
For example, in my country, there are like so many like abusive relationships. Yeah, and like women tolerating them.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe that today more of them like they try to establish these borders so that they wouldn't become these constant victims of abuse.
Absolutely. I personally actually am a survivor of domestic violence from childhood onto my last relationship with my ex-fiance ended up being abusive, and it was very shameful for me because I pride myself on being a very strong person. So it's like, what, me abused? Like, I'm just like, I'm not abused, you know? But I had to kind of accept it for what it was. But at the same time, I believe in using my pain, turning my pains into power. Not being a victim is something very important to me. Even if I end up being victimized, I know from my own practice that I take a step back and self-evaluate. I know a lot of people won't like that. A lot of people might say that I'm victim blaming, which I'm absolutely not doing. I'm just talking about my own personal experience and my own personal practice for my own self-empowerment. And for me, being a victim just doesn't suit my personality. I refuse to give anyone that much control over my life or my existence. It doesn't matter what's happening or has happened to me, and I've been through it. Like, let's just suck it. Like, okay, I've been through so many things in my life. I've been, you know, through so many different types of cruelty, you know, so many different types of violence, whether it be emotional, physical, sexual. Like, I've been through all kind of things. And what I've learned is, no, it wasn't the way I was dressed. You know, it wasn't like the way I talked to someone or having an attitude or not. It was more so, most of the time I would say it was me not trusting my intuition first. When I knew there was a red flag somewhere and I just was so either thirsty for love or thirsty for affection or thirsty for like my own perceived security, that I thought there was no other options. And what was that choice made out of? Fear. So if you're scared, you can't make sound decisions. So proceed to, you know, mess up everything else in your life. And, you know, you can't be a victim and be self-empowered at the same time. Like, I believe, like, my name means God, right? If I'm going to live up to that title, I have to own responsibility for the creation that is my life. So if I brought into my creation or my manifestation an abusive relationship, right, or an abusive upbringing, and in many ways, actually, I find to be grateful for many of those experiences. For example, growing up in an abusive home taught me how to, you know, make a loving home. You know, going through an abusive relationship taught me how to set boundaries, how to have self-respect, and how to not tolerate, you know, foolishness. Honestly, to see right through to the heart of a matter. You know, a lot of times as women especially, but men as well, like we fall in love or we attach to a person's ideal or like a person's spirit self, and we'll see their higher spirit self and we'll be like, wow, this person's so cute, they're so great, yeah. But you don't see that they're not even in alignment with their higher self. So what you're seeing, that amazing goodness of that person, essentially is just a concept that they don't even resonate with. But you don't want to see what's in front of you. You want to see their potential. And seeing that potential will have you in some of the most abusive relationships, will have you in some of the most painful separations, will have you in some of the most just wrecked life. Like some people are really negative and evil, and honestly, like it's nothing short of like a form of demon possession. Like they get so low vibrational, so depressed, so just pessimistic about life, and they see you still have hope, they see that you're still loving, they're going to try to suck you dry. And then they will suck you dry and then walk off like you never even mattered. Like, don't give
like vampires.
Literally like vampires. Like, something I'm really passionate about advocating for is people in narcissistic relationships. Like, I'm really passionate about ACEs. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called the
not sure.
the Adverse Childhood Research Study. It was conducted in California. But basically it talks about like 78% of American people across all race, income levels, everything, if they've experienced certain levels of traumatic experiences as a child, it shapes the way their brain and the way they act and react to things as an adult. So essentially, children experiencing trauma at a young age, and especially more than like 2 traumas, can be really detrimental to their well-being as they become older adults. And so it's kind of an epidemic, honestly. No one's talking about it because it's more like, why heal someone of something when you can just give them a prescription for their symptom? Why not teach people to set boundaries and teach people about the importance of mental health? Like, we should be teaching children how to cope with stress, how to cope with, abuse if that's what their home life is, or if we have boarding schools that are supposed to protect them from that. Like, we have to do our part because our children are our future. And thus far, the way our lives and world is now is based off of decisions we all as a collective have made. So if this is what we've made thus far, we obviously need to change some things because this world's not looking,
pretty gorgeous all the time.
Definitely,
which
but I'm really
is
passionate
kind
about
of a bit unexpected. When, for example, when the person is coming from a third world country, so he expects the highest income and the highest freedom, like to do, to eat, of course, what he or she likes.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just about food. It's about the freedom, like of speech, of course, or freedom of
just expression.
Yeah. Right. But still, you're saying about 78%.
Yeah, it's high. Yeah, 78%. 79% of people are experiencing these different traumas as children, and is affecting them well into adulthood, essentially because they never healed from those experiences. And so, as adults, we obviously have to do our due diligence towards protecting children in the first place of being in these negative, situations. But we also have to, be gentle with the adults, because at the end of the day, we're still children on the inside. Many self-healing or holistic healing or wellness all really talks about is getting in sync with your mind, body, and soul. And one of the first ways of doing that, going down that route of healing your inner child. Every single time, like clockwork. Healing your inner child, heal your inner child, heal your inner child.
Yeah. So whatever I learned from our conversation is whenever I feel in like something's wrong, just take a step back, just sit down at the table, reflect a bit. What could kind of message could that be? Or go to the ocean, if the ocean is not far, of course.
Yeah. Any river, any body of water.
To go to the bathroom.
That helps. Showers, baths are very therapeutic.
Oh yes, that's the ultimate meditation spot.
Yes. That's part of my self-care routine.
So that's why it takes people sometimes hours to take shower.
That's me.
We shouldn't be discussing it in front of the camera, but all right. I hope you guys who are watching it, you will tolerate it. Yeah, we're having fun here at South LA, and Deva, can I inquire more about the meanings of different cards? Because I can see the lovers are there. So does it mean that you're going to have a blast in your personal life?
Well, this reading I have up, I'm actually recording readings for my YouTube channel now. And this is actually for the Sagittarius reading. And so far, the first card I have up is Cordelia, for them to go outside is their message right now. So, I mean, you know, if you're Sagittarius, you need to go outside some more because energetically they're going through a lot. Right now, there's a water trine going on, like cosmically in astrology. So water, fire, obviously opposites. Sagittarius is a fire sign. You can see how there's an immediate energetic problem for them.
I'm not into this.
It's okay. It's just basic like chemistry. Sure. You have a match, you throw water on it, it's out.
Okay.
So if your heart or soul, your energy is that of a flame and water is being dumped on you, you're feeling like you don't even exist. You feel like you can't. You feel like you can't even be yourself. And so energetically, as my cards are saying, that's what a lot of Sagittarian people are feeling like. This card is the Ace of Wands. So wands in astrology. Oh, sure. Wands in astrology. There you go. Yeah, wands in astrology represent fire. It represents movement. It represents action. This also as well in the sky astrology, Mars is in retrograde. So the planet or the god of war is moving or looks like it's moving backwards. Right. So that means as well, since it came up in reverse when I pulled it, that means that people want to make moves, you know, they want to make action, they want to do things, and then reverse, they can't. They feel stuck. They feel like they can't move. They feel like they're being met with a lot of resistance. And according to astrology, yeah, you are, because Mars is in retrograde. But also because they're Sagittarius and they're ruled by fire, and, you know, already they're feeling extra restricted. They're feeling frustrated. They're feeling, why aren't things going my way? Then I have this card. This is a air sign card, Knight of Swords. So in the tarot, the swords represent air. So that could be a Libra, an Aquarius, a Gemini person. And swords represent communication. So this, you know, upright, it shows a guy, you know, on his horse, riding off as fast as possible. Like, you know, the hair and the clouds just blowing by. But it's in reverse. So it's like everything that this card represents upright is essentially reversed. So instead of moving forward or someone who is moving too fast, he's moving way too fast. He's trying to force the issue. They're trying to, and it builds up upon this card since they're next to each other. They're already feeling frustrated. Then they're trying to make moves out of that frustration, and things are still not working out for them because they're trying to force hack the cosmos essentially, and that's not how that works right now. As you see, one of the only cards up right now is the lover. That's upright is the Lover's card for them, and the Four of Cups. That means their focus needs to be inward. Their focus needs to be on what they love instead of focusing and reacting out of all the pain and the frustration that they're going through. Their focus needs to be on themselves, on their hearts, and on the hearts of the people that they care about. But as you see here with the Four of Cups, if you see this card, he has 3 cups. He doesn't even like the cup being offered to him out the sky. It's like that idea out the sky that they don't even want it. They're like, I don't want that. I don't want to do that choice. But that's their only choice during this time. And then that's why they feel so, you know, conflicted, is because they don't want to do that. They want to move. They want action. They want something to happen. Someone will go as far as to fighting, intentionally causing fights just to have some sort of movement. And even that is being blocked because I pulled this up in the reverse. So it's literally like, they're just being blocked off all the way around, and they have to find balance because they're completely out of balance. You know, this is the card, the Two of Pentacles is the card of being in balance, the card of flow, the card of changes, kind of like juggling, right? But when it's in reverse, that means you're losing that battle. You're not able to really balance because you're not balancing your thoughts and your words. You're trying to argue with people. You're trying to just beat up people. You have the card of strife and fighting. You're starting drama just to see something going. You're just getting very like almost irrationally angry, you know, because you really just don't want to face this. You don't want to face, whether it be an air sign, a Gemini, this is also a card of Gemini, but whether you don't want to face a lover or a failed love situation, a lover that betrayed you, or someone you love that's not good for you, but you don't want to let them go, you know, that's what that represents. And then the next card I have is the Five of Pentacles, but I pulled it in reverse. But this is the Five of Pentacles, and if you look at this card, the Pentacles are, represent Earth, and the Pentacles also talk about stability, material gain, right? So you have the wands, it's that physical action, it's that passion, it's that fire. The swords is the communication. And then you have pentacles, which is money, material things. And the 5 of Pentacles shows 2 people look poor, trodden, it's snowy outside, they're homeless, and they're just trying to make it work. But this in reverse is actually a blessing, because instead of financial destitution, it's showing that they're coming out of that energy. So it could have been this lover that left them in this place of feeling like they're left out in the cold, that they've just been cut off by someone, or maybe they're cut off by their lover, or maybe they had to cut their lover off, you know. And then I have the Queen of Pentacles. So again, we're talking about the materialistic world. But this, since it's with a queen and it's with a woman, this could also represent a child. But what in reverse, it could even represent someone who had a miscarriage recently. It can represent someone who has a loss of finances, or who's someone who's not, you know, in alignment with their abundance mindset, and they're losing money and they feel like they literally like can't keep it, you know. And then they have options of changing that, but then they don't like the choice. They don't, you know, want to do that. And then the next card I have for the bottom of the deck is, you know, if they have that inner resolve and they go ahead and make that choice that they have to do, whether or not they want to do it, they're going to be doing better than they are right now, you know. And this is the card for the bottom of the deck for them. And then also I have the 9 of Pentacles, which is, you know, that financial abundance stabling out. That crop is growing and, you know, she's happy about it. So overall, the reading looks pretty eventful. They just really need to get out of their head. But yeah, all the different cards and suites have different meanings. Really powerful root workers can also do like a tarot reading with just spades cards, you know, like the hearts, clubs, all that. Like essentially those were the original tarot cards. And then now like the deck I'm using is a pretty old deck, but there's newer decks being made literally like every day, and they have so many different meanings. Like there's this really cool I forgot what it's called, but it's like an animal deck, and like all of the suites are basically different types of animals, you know, and they have different, even more different and in-depth, more new age meanings that's more relevant, or not relevant, but more easily understood by, you know, the average person. I'm only able to understand the older or traditional tarot better only because of my previous Christian background, so I understand like all the concepts, and then the fact that I've studied different religions most of my life, understand all the other different concepts, and then because I know about just general mysticism and, you know, the elements of life, studying shamanism, things like that. When I see cups, I know, oh, okay, emotions, water, cool, something in your feelings, like instant, like without even question. Oh, pentacle, coin, money, material things, material, physical matter, easy. Wands, a stick, fire, movement, swishing, got it, easy. Like swords, chopping stuff, communication, creates and destroys, like easy. So the more you, it's kind of crazy, but the more you study different vast things, when you take up any sort of spiritual practice or studying any sort of mysticism or even occultism, a lot of the elemental things, studying alchemy, any of those things will make so much more sense, you know, without even knowing. Even on my business card, how I have a triangle for my logo and the moon, any pagan essentially will understand my logo like instantly. The triangle up like this is the symbol, the alchemic symbol for air. I'm a Libra, air sign. And then here with the moon is that feminine touch and the cycles of the moon, which represents essentially like a changing moon, or a person who is changing and growing but going with the tides. You see what I mean? But also the moon always is representative of the feminine. And so, yeah, because I'm a woman. So
right.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm essentially being overwhelmed because there's so much information about these astrological signs,
yeah,
and about all these cards that you very nicely put out.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and explained all the meanings. I think the picture is getting like very clear to me right now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this fulfilling experience. It went beyond my expectation.
Oh,
because,
really?
Like we had like such a meaningful discussion right now. So I actually wanted to hug you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I was able to help, and thank you for interviewing me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. So don't don't hesitate to go to, what's the website?
Oh yeah, my website's www.deva-ability.com, and also follow me on Instagram. And if you guys want to book a reading, just email me at devability@gmail.com or send me a message on Instagram. Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great one.